May the 12th, 1962 is a date I'll never, ever forget. A long time ago, 58 years in fact. And the timing of 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon, of course, and 7 p.m. in the evening will again always be remembered. Why is that? Well, unknown to me, the man often described as the greatest motor racing driver to have never won the Formula One racing was nearly killed. It was 2:30 in the afternoon. It was at Goodwood, and on a sharp turn, the car just continued on straight. It crashed. It took 40 minutes to cut him out of the car, and despite the fact that he notched up 212 victories in 529 races, it looks as though we were about to lose him. He was so famous that if the traffic police caught you speeding and they stopped you, as has just happened to a friend of mine this week, they would say, "Who do you think you are, Stirling Moss?" And it all came to an end at Goodwood on that Easter Monday. And as I say, his Lotus crashed into the end of the race. He was in a coma for a complete month. I didn't know that, of course, because there was no such thing as 24-hour news, and sometimes not even 6 o'clock news. You just got it in the mornings. However, at 7 o'clock the same evening, May the 12th, 1962, I borrowed a friend's motorbike. It wasn't particularly powerful, and two friends came along and we chatted, and they said, we'll get you off. And so they gave me a push, and I lived in Dabenham Drive in Stoke Dabenham, which is a part of Cobham in Surrey. And we lived in a circular road. There was hardly any traffic at all, of course. Way back all those years, not every household had a car, never mind several cars. And as I was driving along, the bike got a puncture. And because I was inexperienced, I didn't know how to control it. And so that went out of control. It hit the curb, and I was catapulted over the handlebars like a rocket out of a silo. And I hit my head on one of two brick pillars and was completely unconscious and broke very many bones in my body with a large gash. I don't know how far away it was from my brain, but I had 5 clots of blood on the brain. When my father heard the noise, he rushed out of the house. It was a lovely sunny evening like today. And as the boys were waiting for me to arrive, they said, "Oh, Mr. Coates, we've got a right old Stirling Moss here," not knowing, of course, that Stirling had had his near-death accident that very afternoon. And so they were prophetic without even knowing it, because we didn't have the news as we have it today. Interestingly enough, both Stirling and I were rushed to the same hospital, which was Britain's top brain hospital, Atkinson Morley, and we even ended up in the same ward. He did have a private area, which I did not. And by God's grace, I've done what I've done for the last 58 years because of the brilliant work of the surgeons and the nurses. Over that time I was there. I forget how long I was in the hospital. It was a long, long time. Unconscious for a week, semi for another. And then I came home, and I didn't work for 3 months, and eventually didn't go back to work until after that time. Stirling, as I say, was a huge personality. He was often on chat shows. He was able to ask for very high appearance fees, but a few days ago he died. And I know a little about him. I have no understanding as to whether he found faith, but he didn't live too far away. But most people my age don't know whether they're going to be here in a decade or whether they're going to be gone next year. If you add to that coronavirus, it can make life even more uncertain. Global deaths by the virus are now 2.5 million people. And UK deaths today have been seen to mark the 40,000 mark. That's just in the UK. All the statistics say it's 20,000 or thereabouts, going up anything between 500 and 800 a day. But they've just discovered, they have discovered that care homes and people dying in the community, that is outside of hospital, aren't in the figures. And so they've doubled them to 40,000. And Corona V will be with us now for a very long time. I read today that a top surgeon and someone who understands the virus has said that distancing will be taking place throughout the whole of this year. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that was in the Times newspaper this morning. And it does look as though it's going to be here much longer than we want it to be. There are now, of course, so many voices. It's very, very difficult to know who's telling the truth. So I tend to go with the experts and go with their perspectives. However, if you're a Christian, and most people watching this are committed Christians or cultural Christians, it is a time to pray for our Prime Minister. He himself is back to work tomorrow, Monday, and he has got a decision to make. Do you save lives and possibly crash the economy? Or do you save the economy and millions of people's lives in terms of work and pay and the such, and lose a lot more people? So we need to pray for him tomorrow. The press are eager to know what he's going to say, and life is important and families are important as well. So I just want to conclude by saying, live well, watch out for others, be prepared with your relationship with your Creator Saviour to be a blessing to those around you. So bless you now. I'll be back in a few days' time to speak to you soon. Thank you so much for listening. Gerald.